The Kansas City Chiefs are AFC champions for the 2022 NFL season, and they are on to Super Bowl 57 in Glendale, Arizona, as champions of the AFC. Welcome to the Sports on 580 Chiefs Instant Reaction postgame show. Brendan Dzwierzynski, Fulton Caster, Dan Lucero, and Jake Lebahn, all here with you. The entire sports crew here with you to recap a thrilling, gut-wrenching at times, and in the end, extremely relieving win for the Kansas City Chiefs over the Cincinnati Bengals. 3 straight losses to Cincinnati, and that skid comes to a close. Heroics from, well, Joseph Asai, among others, but Harrison Butker, Patrick Mahomes, and many others coming through. How could we forget Chris Jones as well to propel the Chiefs onto the Super Bowl? We will recap every single element of this game. But Jake, we will start with you. We heard just before we went live, there's apparently video that now exists of the flamboyant reaction to the win. Take us through what those final few moments were like, seeing the personal foul, then seeing that kick go through the uprights for Harrison Butker.
I'm not going to lie to you. That game was a carbon copy of every single Bengals-Chiefs game, including the turnover that would feel like it was going to end the Chiefs with Mahomes just losing the football. I mean, everything was turning up Bengals like every single game has, except at the very end. And I'm not going to lie to you. I'll be honest with you. I didn't think they were going to win the game. When they punted the football to the Cincinnati Bengals, I did not think that they were going to win the game. I will full on admit it. I didn't think they would. I thought that was a mistake. When they converted 3rd and 14 and Hurst was wide open, I'm just, this is, it's like the Chiefs are cursed against the Bengals. But when you have arguably the best player in the NFL in Chris Jones, that game will go down in Chiefs lore with that effort. And I was more excited about the penalty. Butker, I had faith in Butker. I even told Fulton on the show on Thursday, Chiefs are going to win this game 30-27. Butker kicks a field goal as time expires. I got the score wrong, but I knew Butker was going to make it. But when they pushed him out of bounds and I didn't see the flag right away, then that's when I lost it. And there's video of me jumping up and down like I was in my college days. So, yeah, I didn't think they were going to get it done. I really, really didn't. Not when you're down to Fulton, Dan, myself, my next-door neighbor at wide receiver. And, of course, Sky Moore sets him up like we always thought he would. Dave Tobe. I mean, you want to talk about a full rope-a-dope, long effort from Dave Tobe? That's it right there. That's an incredible win. I mean, from Sky Moore to Mahomes to MVS to Chris Jones, the rookie corners, even Cook, who got cooked a lot today, comes up with a great defensive play. He turns his head around, bats the ball away, and it's intercepted by Williams. Just all around an absolute classic, because the Chiefs apparently only play absolute classics in the playoffs.
And Dan, you and I have spoken so much really over the course of this whole season. And I go back to our Chiefs instant reaction show when they lost to the Bengals earlier this year, when we had Bengals fans from all across the internet jump into the YouTube comments during our stream telling us, oh, you guys doubted the Bengals. Man, we were singing the praises of the Bengals for the entire post-game show. But we talked about it at that point, in the week after that game, and all week leading up to this one, that in 3 consecutive losses for the Chiefs to the Bengals, it really just felt like Cincinnati made one more play, or when it counted the most anyway, they made that one more play. But this time around, it flipped. And yes, the Bengals had a couple of huge plays. The T. Higgins catch for a touchdown was crazy. The 4th and 6 conversion to open the fourth quarter, that felt like it might have been the true momentum shifter. But in the end, it was the Chiefs, and specifically, it was the Chiefs defense that came up with the big play. And if we're going with that same narrative, that one play either way could swing the game, this time it ended up swinging things toward the Chiefs.
Yeah, and I'll tell you what, with about 2 minutes left in this game, it felt like we were going to have the same conversation about every break, about every big play going in the Bengals' direction. I mean, there are so many moments in this game, whether it was penalties that flipped the field, Brian Cook's pass interference penalty late in the first half that continue that Bengals drive, helped them on the field goal drive get to within 7 at halftime. The penalty on the punt return that cost the Chiefs about 30 yards, the fourth down conversion to Jamar Chase. It really felt like the Bengals were once again going to have one of those games where they make every single one. But instead, it was Chris Jones, and it is always Chris Jones, isn't it, guys? It's always him. This season especially, every single time when you need somebody to stand up and be counted, it's Chris Jones every single time. He comes up with a third down sack, gives the Chiefs a chance to get the ball back, and gives them a chance to benefit from a break. You know, the Chiefs had not gotten the breaks in this series with the Bengals. They get a break with Joseph Ossai late to the party, shoves Patrick Mahomes from behind. And I'm sorry, I know there are going to be some Bengals fans that are salty about that one, that are going to be mad about that one for a long time. But that is a penalty 100 times out of 100, especially when you do it to a quarterback. If you'd call it in the middle of the second quarter, you got to call it with 8 seconds to go. I feel terrible for Joseph Ossai. He's just hustling, trying to make a play. But that is a stone-cold personal foul penalty. And it sets up Harrison Butker. And, oh, my goodness, the beautiful irony in the Chiefs special teams coming up large in this game. I forget which NFL Network pregame show it was that tried to lay out the advantages for each team coming into this game. And they gave the quarterback edge to the Bengals. Wrong. They gave the skill position edge to the Bengals. They gave the running back edge to the Bengals. They gave the defense edge to the Bengals. They gave the special teams edge to the Chiefs. And that looked really funny in the light because we've watched the Chiefs special teams all year long, right? Sky Moore. I'm going to tell you guys, I thought he was going to fumble that punt. I had terrible vibes in Lucero residence when he was back to return that punt. He turns in a great punt return. I guess we see what Dave Toub was seeing all along. He gets a great punt return, and then Harrison Butker, true as can be, from 45 yards to win the game. And again, it just goes to show you how closely matched these two teams are, that in the end, it comes down to a field goal. It comes down to who has the ball last. That's what it is between these two teams. That's why it's been such great theater. That's why it's been so much fun to watch. But the Chiefs pull it out in the end. They go back to the Super Bowl, and they talk that talk after the game. The Bengals got to talk their talk. They deserved to talk their talk, but I'm sure it was extremely satisfying for Chiefs players to absorb it all for a week, and now they get to talk that talk as AFC champions.
And if you're going to talk about any one guy in particular who I think took it pretty personal, I know we both of our shows mic'd up and 580 Sports Talk talked about it. I think Chris Jones took this game personally and knew everything that was being said. Like, of course he did. You could see it on his face the entire game. He finally gets his first playoff sack. And then how about he throws in another one? How about he completely blows up the Bengals' chance at the end of the second quarter to get a touchdown? Jesse Newell, our good friend from the Kansas City Star, posted the clip during halftime on Twitter. Chris Jones single-handedly kept the Bengals out of the end zone at the end of the second quarter. That ends up being one of the biggest plays of the day. You could tell he, along with the rest of the defense, obviously took it personally, and he was the best player on the field. But Fulton, we do also have to bring up the quarterback because he did more than just get shoved while he was already out of bounds at the very end of the game to draw that 15-yard penalty. It wasn't a great game for Patrick Mahomes. You can see it on the ticker right now. 29 of 43, 326 yards, 2 touchdowns. I say it wasn't great. That's just like not in the top 10. Yeah,
I'd argue it was awesome. I mean, who's he throwing to by the end of the game? He's down to wide receiver 2, wide receiver 6, and a practice squad elevation. That's who's left at wide receiver. And he's making play after play on one leg.
He was great for every quarterback in the league, and for him, it was like maybe a top 15-ish game of his career. And he was on a bum leg. Fulton, the gutsiness at the end of the game, because you could tell. I mean, it looked like every single time he went off the field, he looked more and more hurt at that point. Like, he was limping. We saw the one throw back across his body as he's fading left that he came up lame on that play. But in the end, he turns on the Jets, so to speak, gets that first down. He hung in the pocket, made big throws. I know Chris Jones was the best player of this game, but you really can't say enough about what Mahomes did and some of the throws he made, specifically coming to mind that touchdown to MVS.
You really can't. And the big thing for me, I tweeted this out during the game because, of course, we're all terminally online, especially for a game as big as this. It took until the third quarter for the Bengals to force Mahomes to tweak the ankle. I talked all last week on Mic'd Up, and Jake can back me up on this. I said, what you do is you have to force Mahomes to move, because the minute he tweaks the ankle, the entire calculus changes and how he plays football. Think back to that first half. It was as if there was no ankle issue because he was not getting pressured. He wasn't forced to throw off bad platforms, and everything looked fine. Third quarter comes, he tweaks the ankle, and then it starts to affect his throws. Then it starts to affect the platforming. You're right. The last 3 drives, every single shot of Mahomes coming off the field looks like every step was just creating an immense amount of pain for him. He wasn't able to put enough juice on the ball. He was short on some throws. He was behind on some throws. But like any good game that has a storyline revolving around an injury, at some point, the player is going to do a thing that with that injury they should not be doing, or they can only do once. And at the most critical time of the game, Mahomes had 1 scramble in him today. I am confident after watching him, even after he got pushed by Joseph Asai, Patrick Mahomes had 1 good scramble in him all game. And he saved it for the absolute last moment it was needed for. We can make comments about, Jordan flu games, about a Kurt Schilling bloody sock game, about all the other stuff we ever want to talk about of a player playing through injury. The fact of the matter is, a quarterback, an NFL player, playing on 1 wheel with an injury that normally sidelines guys for weeks. The fact that after 8 days, he looked like an entirely different guy for a half. And then after he tweaked it, he still found a way to put through it. He still found a way to be gutsy through it. There are plenty of reasons why I think people like to try and doubt Patrick Mahomes or put other guys above him or doing different things. The fact of the matter is that man just threw for 326 yards on 1 leg with me as his number 2 wide receiver for an entire half of football. That's what he just did to take his team to the Super Bowl. It's a common phrase we all use. We use it to talk about a lot of guys. Patrick Mahomes is top 2, and he ain't 2. And this fully cemented that tonight.
Undisputed.
Fulton, did you really put yourself ahead of Jake on the Chiefs depth chart? Jake said earlier that it was the 3 of you catching passes. You put yourself ahead of Jake on the depth chart, which, look, I know it's been a while since Jake's put on the cleats, put on the pads, but he was, the Washburn male athlete, student athlete of the year at one point. So a little respect into the bottom right corner of the screen, please. I do want to go around the horn here. And Jake, we'll start with you. We'll just go back in that same order. Give me your play of the game, because in a game like this, things really stand out as flashpoint moments where things change. I already brought up that play at the end of the second quarter when the Bengals had 2 plays, theoretically, 8 seconds left. They're at the 5-yard line trying to punch it into the end zone. That feels like a huge momentum swing. Chris Jones just destroys the interior of the Bengals offensive line, rips through, gets to the quarterback. You can also throw in that late sack he had where he beat, unfortunately, my guy, Hakeem Adeniji, around the right end. They finally put him on the outside. He got pressure. You could point to a couple different plays for Chris Jones. For you, Jake, we'll start with you first. What was the play of the game? What was the one thing that stands out, freeze frame in your mind, that swung the game or won the game for Kansas City?
Oh, that's easy to me. 3rd and 10, Cincinnati 19-yard line. 3rd and 10, Mahomes kind of, I don't want to say scrambles, steps up in the pocket, jumps up on 1 foot, lands on his left foot, and throws an absolute dart to MVS on 3rd and 10. If he doesn't do that, they're kicking the field goal, and they are. It's not 20-13. I thought that was one of the best plays of the entire game on the offensive side of things. That's the one that stands out to me the most, because that made it 20-13, and then the defense was able to do just enough at the end of the game. The biggest play of the game on the defensive side of things, I'll go with the last Chris Jones sack. You kind of mentioned it. Chris Jones has been the closer all year, Dan, in so many of the games, and that's what he did. 3rd and 8, and it's a 7-yard loss, and that 7-yard loss helped out, back him up a little bit. So on the offensive side, I'm going to go with MVS, who picked a great time to play his best game of his career, probably, considering the circumstances. Caught everything. He drew a iffy PI call, no question. And then Chris Jones, 3rd and 8, because at that point in time, we didn't know the Chiefs were – I still can't believe they won in overtime. That's the thing. Chris Jones, 3rd and 8. I'm expecting another first down conversion, because that's what they did in this game. The Bengals, what were they – let me look it up real quick. 3rd down conversions in this game, the Bengals went, if you combine 4th down, they were 7 of 15, so almost 50% You just felt like it was going to be a first down, but Chris Jones comes up big on 3rd and 8, 2 sacks in the last two. I mean, he was awesome. But, yeah, I think that MVS throw, I mean, he had to fit it through. That was incredible.
Dan, let's go to you next. We were talking so much about Chris Jones earlier. Was it something he or the defense did, or was it some of the Mahomes magic offensively that stands out the most to you?
I'm going to give you 2 third-down conversions on what was the go-ahead drive for the Chiefs in the third quarter. And the one that will stand out, I think, is the one that Andy Reid burned his final challenge of the game on, but ended up getting reversed, is Marquez Valdez-Scantling had the presence of mind to reach that football out to the 19-yard line of Cincinnati and get the first down and pull the ball back in enough time to keep it from getting slapped away. That was an incredible play. The awareness, the field awareness to know where he's at and to pull it out, to reach it out, to pull it back, and for the Chiefs to challenge that, knowing that, hey, we're going to be out of challenges if we don't challenge this, but we need to keep this drive alive. That was a monster play, but I'll give you one even earlier on that drive. It was another third down, 3rd and 4 at Kansas City's 29-yard line. Remember, the Chiefs went 3 and out to start the second half. And the Bengals walked it down the field and scored a touchdown, and you're starting to get the bad vibes because this is what it's been in the second half of these Chiefs-Bengals matchups, right? It's been all Bengals in the second half. It's been Uncle Lou Anarumo making the adjustment that completely shuts down the Chiefs, and they are on the verge of going 3 and out again, and Mahomes on the move. This was the first time he really had to make a throw on the move, off platform, the kind of play that you don't think twice about him making, but the kind of play you kind of thought maybe he wasn't going to be capable of on a bum wheel. Rolls to his left, makes a throw to Mecole Hardman. Now, it was costly because Hardman got hit on that play and got hurt, and he didn't come back into the game. And Juju Smith-Schuster got hurt on the same play, and he didn't come back in the game. But that first down gave you some belief that Mahomes could do some of the things we weren't sure if he could do, and that they were going to be able to move the ball in the second half. That was such a big play. If they go 3 and out, back-to-back drives, sandwiched around a Bengals touchdown drive, it would have been lemon booty time in Arrowhead. Let me tell you what.
All right, Fulton, up to you. What is your play of the game from this AFC Championship game win, over the Bengals?
There were a lot of good ones, and we can talk about it. It's been too much about the big stars, Patrick Mahomes, Chris Jones. The rookie secondary needs a lot of love out of this game because it was just rookies. It was L'Jarius Sneed goes down on that first drive with a concussion, and we hope he's okay as time goes here. But that meant your 3 corners were 3 rookies, a first rounder in Trent McDuffie, and then 2 day 3 guys in Joshua Williams and Jalen Watson. Those were the guys that were tasked with stopping 2 of the most dynamic receivers in the NFL. And yeah, Higgins and Chase got him. More than a few plays that Higgins and Chase got him, and that happens. But you know what's even more impressive? Jalen Watson's interception in the first half was so crucial because Burrow got sped up. That is a play that, so often or not, we talk about how the Bengals always seem to make that big play, make the plays more than the Chiefs do. That is a pick that so many times this year, I think we all know it's dropped. That just is there where they get the hands on it, but just can't bring it in. Jalen Watson does a great job to turn on a high point of ball, and that was phenomenal. But one of the greatest plays in this game was the interception that ended up being by Joshua Williams in that late fourth quarter there on the deep ball to Higgins. Some kind of an assist needs to be created for Brian Cook. I don't know what the stat should be. I don't know how you put it in the record books. I don't care. Something needs to be created for a guy who was getting burned all game, who was being targeted intentionally when they could by Joe Burrow, who knew, I throw at this guy, I can make him pay. Brian Cook gets his head around, tips that ball up to his fellow rookie, Joshua Williams. And that play stands out to me almost more than anything because when you've watched Chiefs and Bengals in the past, if the Bengals do anything that burns in a Chiefs fan's brain, it is the 50-50 balls won by Higgins and Chase. Touchdown earlier in the game, perfectly thrown ball by Burrow, perfect catch by Higgins, nothing Jalen Watson can do, another high point play. Jamar Chase on 4th and 6, high point play in double coverage over Brian Cook, makes a play. Every single time the Bengals throw it deep, you just imagine that they're the ones going to make a play. It sucks. It stinks. Chiefs corners get cooked, whatever. 2 rookies combined to make one of the biggest plays of the game. You had 2 experienced players in that secondary all night, and that's Juan Thornhill and that's Justin Reed. over 50% of the bit of guys getting snaps and getting plays in that secondary tonight were playing college football at this time last year. We're on their couches for a good chunk of them at this point last year. And those guys had to step up and make a play. We can talk all we want about the other great plays the Chiefs defense made. There are people wanting to fire Spags at halftime. That is what there are people wanting to fire Spags earlier this year.
People have been drinking for a while, Fulton.
He trusts his rookies.
It was a long day.
It's been a long one.
A lot of that. They opened the gates at Arrowhead an hour earlier than normal today. So yeah, people have been a little worn down. So we've got two things here I want to get to before we get a quick look ahead and get out of here so everyone can go celebrate on this AFC Championship Sunday night. One, is it fair to say that if this game had gone the other way, the play of the game is Mahomes dropping the ball and having it pop out like he's Jameis Winston at the Rose Bowl? Like, is that fair to say that was the play of the game had this gone the other way?
That or Jamar Chase doing Jamar Chase things.
Yeah, that too.
He is special, man. He is truly special.
They made two big pass plays tonight that were just indefensible plays. Like nothing you could do. You got two defenders in the vicinity, but it's perfect ball placement and it's top tier wide receivers making big time plays. You almost have to bake that into the experience when you're playing the Bengals. But I think Fulton laid out very nicely how well those rookie corners played. Particularly, I mean, Josh Williams pressed into duty with the injury to L'Jarius Sneed. I think he held his own. I really do. I think that his ability to hold his own out there was crucial.
Also, the other note I wanted to get to here real quick, we've got some breaking news. Patrick Mahomes is not only an AFC champion, folks, he is a posting champion as well. QB1 just taking to Twitter right now. Guys, he threw up the Pete Weber, folks. Who do you think you are? I am.
It's not fair for him to be as good at posting. He's already better at quarterback than anybody living. It's not fair for him to be good at posting too. That's not fair.
But if you look at it though, like for real, if you don't think what everyone was saying this week mattered, do you really need it? No, it's the AFC title game. You know what I mean? Like, and the lies that are out there, they're like, oh, it's just one game, it's just another game. Trust me, that's a bunch of lies. You get up for bigger games, and when you have someone on the sideline in a game, say to a TV cameraman, hey, we'll see you at Burrowhead next week. That is something. And Mahomes takes notes, and him posting that shows you. I mean, we know that's who he is, the whole 1, 2, 3, 4, that type of thing. And looking at Trubisky, like we know that. Like we knew Travis Kelce's that guy because he ain't.
He's always been that guy. Always has been.
But if you look at that, like the Chiefs, They took notes. I mean, Travis Kelce obviously heard that stuff from the mayor and Burrowhead. Mahomes is a little bit more discreet with it. This is like the first time that I have really seen Mahomes on social media basically just, give everyone a, yep, don't forget about me situation. You know what I mean? Like that says something there. I am actually surprised he put that out on social media. Travis Kelce, no, not at all. He's going to wrestle. I saw it WrestleMania here in 2 months. That probably could happen, but I did not see Mahomes doing that, which, hey, the Chiefs are going to turn into even more of the villains because you're seeing it on social media. Just get ready for it. Like, this was such a big game narrative-wise. If the Chiefs lose this, it's the Bengals, it's Burrow. The Chiefs win it, now it's, 3 of the last 4. You know what I mean? Mahomes has been to 3 Super Bowls in his 5 years as a starter. I mean, this was a huge one, a really big one narrative-wise.
So with that, we've brought up the name Kelce a few times, and Travis Kelce did have a big game in the AFC Championship, 7 catches, 78 yards, had the touchdown as well. On a 4th down conversion, we should also add. That was a huge play in the first half of the game. But Kelce, specifically, the name in general, is going to be one of the biggest storylines that you cannot get enough of, even though it's going to feel like it over the next 2 weeks. We've already got brother Jason, the center for the Eagles, chiming in on Twitter, says he's officially done being a Chiefs fan this season because it is going to be Kelce Bowl 1, Super Bowl 57, the New Heights Bowl, Chiefs versus Eagles 2 weeks from now on February 12th at whatever it's called now, University of Phoenix Stadium, torn ACL Stadium in Glendale, Arizona, whatever it is called.
Place is cursed. I don't like it.
Stadium, Harrison Butker's ankle is still lying on the turf at the 35-yard line from week 1 this season. There's going to be so much to get to. Obviously, we are going to talk all about it on Mic'd Up with Fulton and Jake, and of course on 580 Sports Talk with myself and Dan over the next 2 weeks. But Fulton, we'll close things out with this one more time around the horn. Initial thoughts on Chiefs-Eagles in Super Bowl 57.
It's going to come down to defending the run for the Chiefs. That's going to be priority first, second, third, fourth, fifth, seventh, all the way through 50 for this team. If the Eagles can run the football, they're going to beat you no matter how good you are on any other side of the ball. That is what they need to do. If you are the Chiefs, that's the first thing you do. If your defensive line can stand up and make the Eagles have to throw, force Jalen Hurts to be a passing quarterback, you have a chance in this one. We just saw what the Chiefs can do against 2 great wide receivers in Higgins and Chase. They're going to have to do that against A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith in this one. But first things first, you got to stop the run. If they can do that, I really do like the Chiefs' chances in this game. But it is going to be a very interesting one because everything the Eagles excel at is kind of something the Chiefs have struggled with at various points this year.
It's going to be a fun clash of styles. Dan, what stands out to you the most initially for this matchup?
It's really cool to get the 2 best teams in each conference standing at the end. You know, we don't always get that because football doesn't allow for that sometimes. Sometimes, you can be the best team, you get caught in a bad day in the postseason. But these were the 2 best teams in their respective conferences for most of the season. We get to see them play in the season's denouement, and that's really, really cool. And the biggest thing for me right now is hopefully the Chiefs get healthy. I mean, we went into this game worried about Patrick Mahomes' ankle, and then Travis Kelce's back. L'Jarius Sneed, Willie Gay, Juju, Tony, Hardman. How many guys went down with an injury in this game? How many of them are going to be able to bounce back in 2 weeks and play in this Super Bowl? Because a healthy Chiefs team, I think you give them an edge in this matchup. But if they're dinged up, if Patrick Mahomes is out there throwing to Jake Lebahn in the slot, then, that could be a really tough matchup against an Eagles team that's got 2 terrific corners and the best pass rush the Chiefs have dealt with all season.
There's not enough medical tape in the world to get Jake's ankles ready to play the slot in Super Bowl 57. But, Jake, we will go to you. Initial impressions of this matchup. Is the biggest storyline the Kelce Bowl? Is it Andy Reid's current team versus his old team? What stands out about this matchup? What is going to be narrative number 1 over the next 2 weeks?
I think the winning quarterback, Mahomes wins it. He's won 2 Super Bowls in his first 5 years, and he is arguably already. I mean, how many people won 2 Super Bowls, 2 MVPs in their career? And
a long list.
He could do that. I mean, I'm trying to think. Steve Young won 2 Super Bowls as the starter.
No.
No. So he didn't. So it is Peyton Manning. It is Tom Brady, Joe Montana.
That's it.
You're running out of space on that list.
You know what I mean? So, but then on the other side, Jalen Hurts. If Jalen Hurts wins this Super Bowl, what an incredible come up from Jalen Hurts. I think it's all about the quarterbacks. And Dan, I think you're right. I think it's all about health. If the Chiefs get everybody back, you like to think that, okay, Snead will be back with the concussion, that he should be okay. The question for Tony, I don't know. Hardman's probably out because he's made of paper mache. So you like to think Snead will be back. Hopefully, maybe Willie Gay, Mahomes' ankle, he gets 2 more weeks of that. So you hope that's the case, because if they don't get some of these guys back, then it's an uphill battle, because roster-wise, even if they have everybody back, the Eagles have the better O-line. They got the better D-line. They got better secondary. They got better pass catchers. But they don't have the better quarterback. And it is no questions denied here that Jalen Hurts has had a good year. A good year, no question. But Jalen Hurts benefits more from everyone around him. Best O-line in the NFL. You could argue best D-line in the NFL. One of the best secondaries in the NFL. They got A.J. Brown and Devonta Smith. Like, they have the better roster. It's the best roster in the NFL. And I was secretly cheering for Brock Purdy today because I did not want to face the Eagles. That game, well, that's a whole nother topic. But if the Chiefs players get semi-healthy and you've got enough guys, if Juju can get back, if everybody can find a way to get healthy, then I think it's a close battle. And then it comes down to the Eagles as a whole versus one guy who will be a lot healthier because of another week with that ankle. That should be a lot of fun.
what a group of narratives it should be for this matchup. You get the Chiefs' health. You get Patrick Mahomes and this Chiefs team, but let's be real. Patrick Mahomes going for Super Bowl number 2. You get brother versus brother with the Kelseys. Andy Reid's current team versus his old team. His old team, which, by the way, he was never able to get it done there like he has in Kansas City. That's obviously going to be a big story here. Have seen this all over Twitter. This is going to be the first ever meeting between two black quarterbacks, black starting quarterbacks at a Super Bowl, which is obviously significant for NFL history. And oh, by the way, here's one other thing that you know is going to come up many times over the next 2 weeks. Do you guys know the last time the NFL MVP also won the Super Bowl in the same year?
Hold on. Give me a second here.
Favre in 96.
Incorrect. It has happened since then.
Warner in 99.
It was the greatest show on turf, 1999, MVP Kurt Warner, and the Rams won that Super Bowl that year. We all remember 1 yard short. Can Patrick Mahomes end that streak? What a couple of weeks it is going to be. What a game it will be 2 weeks from now at University of Phoenix Stadium, Broken Ankle Stadium in Glendale, Arizona. Of course, we will be talking about this all over the Sports Voice of Kansas and on YouTube over the next 2 weeks. You can listen in to Jake and Fulton with Mic'd Up noon to 3, and then myself and Dan from 3 until 6 on 580 Sports Talk, Monday through Friday, coming up every day the next 2 weeks with full coverage. That'll be on 580 WIBW and, of course, on YouTube at Sports on 580 WIBW as well. We will talk to you coming up on Monday starting at noon with Jake and Fulton, Dan and I at 3 o'clock to recap this AFC Championship win, a 23-20 victory for the Kansas City Chiefs over the Cincinnati Bengals. For Dan Lucero, Jake Lebahn, Fulton Caster, I'm Brendan Dzwierzynski. We'll talk to you